So now let's return to our chocolate market, or whatever market you can make up your own, but let's return to our chocolate market. And let's see, I may have made this too big, but let's see if we can figure out what happens. So we had that change in technology situation, which caused our shift in supply. And if we think through the process of what we would expect to happen next, we would expect to end up here. Now we said, is this a good thing from the point of view of society? Not from the point of view of producers or consumers, but from the point of view of society, which is the perspective that we as economists take. We want to maximize human flourishing. It's another thing we could say economics is, which is the study of human flourishing. Now, are we better or worse off as a society as a result of this? Well, let's look. Let's see if we can figure this out. I'm just going to put some letters in here. Okay. So, in order to figure out whether we're better or worse off, we're going to need to know how well off we were before this and after this. And the way to do that is we can think about consumer surplus before, which would be their total benefit. So consumer surplus is their total benefit minus their total cost. So beforehand, we were on this demand schedule. This was the quantity, the number of units, which means from that, we know that a demand schedule tells us marginal benefit. So their benefit, they were getting benefit and benefit and benefit and benefit. What letters are in there? A, B, C, E, F, and G. And what were they having to give up? Well, we know that from the fact that they were consuming that quantity, that must have been their cost. And so they were giving up B, C, E, F, and G, leaving them with a net benefit of A. So consumer surplus, or the net benefit to consumers before the situation changed, was A. How about producers? Well, producers, we were on this supply schedule at this price, and price was the benefit to the producers. So they were getting benefit and benefit and benefit and benefit. So their total benefit, I'll do it over here and then copy it. So their total benefit, or revenue, for those of you who are in business classes, B, C, E, F, and G. And now the question is, what was their cost? Well, if you remember, supply schedule tells us marginal cost, which means that's the cost. And so the value they were giving up to produce those units was C, F, and G, leaving them with a net benefit of B and E. There's another entity which we probably want to get in the habit of thinking of here, which is government. Is government making or spending money in this market? No. And so now the question is, what was the net benefit to society beforehand? Well, that's just going to be consumer surplus plus producer surplus plus government. And so in this case, it's A, B, and E. I'm just going to move this over a little bit. P1, P2. All right. Now, how about after? Well, consumer surplus after, what are they getting? Now, I would encourage you to write out all the letters. Their total benefit is what? Well, they're getting this quantity here. So benefit, 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 A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. What's their total cost? Well, what are they having to pay? Price is shorthand for cost to the consumers. They're having to pay E, F, G, and H. Oops, there's a little, I forgot a letter there. They're giving up M. Okay? And so what are they left with? A, B, C, and D. How about producer surplus? Well, what's their total benefit? When they're producing this quantity here, this is the price, which we know is shorthand for their benefit. And so the benefit to the producers here is E, F, G, H, and M. And what's their total cost? Well, we know supply tells us marginal cost, and we're now on this supply schedule. So we have cost, 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 and cost, which is G and H. Those cancel. We're left with E, F, and M. And again, we don't want to forget government. But again, government is neither making nor spending money in this market at this point. How about total surplus? Again, we just add up consumer, producer, and government. A, B, C, D, E, F, and M. Now, we can figure out whether consumers are better or worse off. And this is the payoff here. Change in consumer surplus. As I already said, change in anything is going to be the new minus the old. And in this situation, it's A, B, C, and D minus A. And so that equals B, C, and D. Are consumers better or worse off? The answer is they're better off. How do we know that? Because this is positive. We don't know the magnitude. It might be inconsequential. It might be monumental. But we know that we as a society, from the point of view of consumers, are better off. How about the change in producer surplus? I'm actually just going to move this up so I have enough room. So that was B, C, and D. Change in producer surplus, our new E, F, and M, minus our old B and E. We have an E on both. Oh, does that look right? It is FM minus B. That's as far as we can take it. You want to be careful with your canceling so that if something doesn't cancel, you don't just then, what I'll oftentimes see students do is they'll put down FM and B. And by the way, these aren't meant to be multiplicative. It's just, I don't want to write out the plus sign. Are producers better or worse off? It's actually unclear. It depends. Is F and M bigger than B, or is B bigger than F and M? If F and M is larger, producers are better off. If F and M is smaller, they're worse off. But this is as far as we can take it without actual numbers. And we aren't, I might put some actual numbers in on an exam, but as a general rule, I mean, they're not real world numbers, they'd be made up numbers. But the key for us here is we really can't say. That's as far as we can go. Okay. How about changing government? Well, that's going to be our new minus our old. So 0 minus 0 is 0. And then the change in total surplus is, so this is interesting. Consumers are better off. We're not sure about producers. And then the question would be, as a society, are we better or worse off? So we take our new and we subtract our old. And in the interest of space here, I'll see if I can copy this without making a mistake. C, D, F, and M. Are we better or worse off as a society? So we take this and subtract this. We have an A, we have an A. We have a B, we have a B. We have an E, we have a negative E. And what we're left with is C, D, F, and M. Turns out we know unequivocally that we are better off as a society than if this technology had not been invented. And that should make sense because this B here, the loss to producers, didn't disappear from society. It became part of consumer surplus. It was a law, it was a transfer. Whereas F and M was a gain to producers, and C and D was a gain to consumers. And so we as a society are better off. So we now took the information, we mapped it onto supply, demand, neither or both. We figured out the direction We then looked at the impact, the change on price and quantity, and then we're able to actually figure out the impact on consumer, producer, government, and total. And we can actually make a verdict. We can pass a judgment here and say this is a good thing to have happened. We can do this for all sorts of things. And in fact, you will definitely get some practice at that.